So there's a perception in China, and even I think in somewhat in the United States, that the U.S. doesn't do manufacturing. Obviously, you have an argument to counter that. What are some of the challenges for people who want to get into manufacturing, and what are some of the things that probably they don't know that are available to Americans if they want to start a business like this that maybe makes it less challenging than would appear to be true? Tax incentives, the cost for building, power, automation. What are the things that kind of on the positive side, and then what are the things that are challenges that keep you up at night?
So on the positive side, there's a enormous volume of creative, brilliant, and hardworking people in this country. Way more than people really give us ourselves credit for. We as a culture are truly innovative, and I've seen just how innovative we can be as Americans in our industry, just in terms of how we compete with our international competitors, which include competitors from Germany, Spain, Italy, China, all over the world. And I'm proud of that innovation that we have, and the innovation and the American aspect of what we do. So that's a huge advantage to us, being in America. Additionally, there is just a huge network. There are manufacturers. They're just not exactly, there aren't as many contract manufacturers. There's not as many shops that you can go to and say, look, here's what I need. And because of that, and because raw materials are more expensive here, and because labor is higher, it can be very challenging for a budding entrepreneur to say, look, I have a great idea. It's a somewhat complex mechanical device, and I need help to actually get it to market. And yes, you can use consultants to help you, and you're going to pay a lot. And if you did, and if I were that consultant, I would still explain that, look, we can build a lot of this stuff with shops here in the US, or we can make and prototype and design with shops in China. The latter is going to be a significant amount cheaper, to the tune of 20 to 25% the cost of doing it in the US. Not 20 to 25% cheaper, 20 to 25% the cost. Rule of thumb is 1/5, or multiply a US source by 5. That's a big multiplier for the difference in a normal machine component US versus China. What we did was we said, well, we don't need a contractor to machine this stuff for us. We're going to machine it ourselves. And so that's a little unique. So if you are an entrepreneur and you're in the manufacturing world and you've got a somewhat complex mechanical device, I would urge you to go to a vocational school and learn how to actually machine and make stuff, if you don't already, which is something that we have in this country. I'd love to see more, but we do have it. We also have, and it's going to vary from state to state and community to community, but we do have a big interest and a big respect for entrepreneurship, which is not true everywhere else in the world. And we have people who see themselves as individuals and feel a passion for pursuing entrepreneurship, which is not exactly true in everywhere else in the world. And so there are means of going out to your local small business development center, to a university, to a successful person that you know, and saying, what kind of resources do you know of that could help me get started with my idea? And it could be as simple as networking with someone who is personally helpful, or someone that knows these other places, or send you to these places directly to get help. And there's money to be had. It's not always easy to get, and sometimes it is hooked up with universities, which is one of the values of going to school, but it's not the only option.
So the universities have programs for entrepreneurs. There's opportunity zones that we've talked about that provides tax incentives for people that want to start this type of business. There's low energy costs. There's fairly consistent low real estate costs. There's innovative people. So why are all these companies saying you can't manufacture in the United States? Because it sounds like, and in particular, you say there's all kinds of value add that you can do to your products that you couldn't do if they were in China, for example. So why are people saying, hey, we can't manufacture in the United States?
So
companies like Apple, right? Which, Apple has $260 billion in cash, last time I checked. And they get a lot of that on the basis of exploited labor and poor environmental conditions in the country that they have most of their manufacturing. You have labor standards, you have environmental standards, you have OSHA, you have EPA, you have equal opportunity for employment. All of these things are things that we went through as a country in terms of equality under the law that don't exist in China. I've lived there, I've seen it. But, why would they say, hey, it's better for us to manufacture in China than to manufacture in the United States, given everything you've just said?
Cost. It's cost, and the fact that when I say cost, I don't just mean it's cheaper. I also mean it's cheaper because of the lack of those environmental regulations and human safety regulations. And I have not spent as much time in China as you have, but fortunately I have been there a handful of times, and so it's that's been really good for me as a person, as a businessman, to see firsthand just how things are done. The problem with Apple continuing to do this, and not to single Apple out, but the problem with any enterprise that continues to send very advanced manufacturing and assembly processes overseas, is that they're not developing those manufacturing processes. Someone else is. And there's a lot, we are a consumer-driven economy, and we like toys and gadgets. Electronics are as popular as it gets. It's scary to me that we're not investing in the technology to actually manufacture this stuff on our own. Because automation does make things more economical and does provide, look, automating a process in the US still provides more jobs than sending it all out to some country overseas. And that's just for the people who are working the automation equipment at the manufacturer. But what about the people who are designing the automation equipment? Well, there's jobs there. And we don't have any of that. It's wrong to say we don't have any of it. We have a variety of different automation equipments. We do a lot of machining in the US. We have robots operating machine tools. We have automotive manufacturing. We have all kinds of automated processes, but not as much. We're not doing it as much as we could, and it's a staggering number about how much money Apple has, and that is money that could be invested in facilities here. I am not the CEO of Apple, nor do I pretend to know everything that they know and the decisions that they make. But in a general kind of way, that's absolutely true. They could be using that money to develop state-of-the-art plants here. And automation does pay off over time. It's paid off for us in the SMT environment. The SMT environment is a semi-automated environment, and it allows us to manufacture circuit boards for just as cheap, if not cheaper, than we were buying them from overseas. And we don't have to bring in thousands of boards at the same time and then just one by one go through that inventory. We make 2 days worth of inventory at a time continuously.